Earlier today, officers were dispatched to 2800 Vail Southeast, reference an individual who was armed with a gun and who was said to have been threatening individuals in the apartment complex with this firearm. Officers arrived at about 11:45, came in contact with the male individual who immediately fled officers. Officers gave chase to this individual. The officer that fired the shots gave several orders for this individual to stop, or that force would be used against him. The officer also identified that the individual was running with a handgun and verbalized that to other officers. At a point in time, one officer did discharge their firearm more than once and struck this individual. It is unknown if they knew who this individual was at the time, but it is now known that this individual was an individual that the University Area Command has dealt with on numerous occasions. Alone, I've been told that it's possible that this individual has been arrested 3 times in stolen motor vehicles in the University Area Command. The individual also had 2 felony warrants out for his arrest, has a history of fleeing and evading officers, and it is still early in the investigation. We're still trying to piece this all together, but this is just another example of our officers having to deal with a armed repeat offender in the community who's armed with the firearm, threatening the community. We will be out here the rest of the day conducting this investigation. At this time, we do know one officer did discharge their firearm. We did recover a firearm from the individual who's fleeing officers, and like I stated, the officer did identify that the individual was running with a firearm and did give the individual orders to stop. With that, is there any questions? We don't know if he was a resident at the apartment complex or just visiting. We're still working to identify where he resides.
Had he pointed the gun? Had he pointed the gun at people, or had he fired it?
We don't know if he's fired the firearm. We have no indications he has, but the original callers did state that the individual was in the parking lot and was threatening individuals and pointing the firearm at them.
And it's a handgun?
And it's a handgun.
Do you have any active warrants?
Yes, individual did have 2 active warrants out for their arrest.
In your experience, Chief, how dangerous was this situation this morning for the officers?
It's extremely dangerous. You know, our officers are dealing with these individuals who are armed in the community. A lot of times we find that during these circumstances there are other factors such as substance abuse, and it's unknown the mental state of these individuals. So these situations are extremely dangerous for our officers, especially when you have an individual with unknown intent armed with a firearm who has already shown that they're not afraid of pointing the firearm at other community members and citizens.
Any advice to community that sees somebody waving a gun in parking lot or apartment complex?
You know, that's always a 911 phone call to dispatch, that let them know, get as much information as possible, let the responding officers know where the individual is exactly so our officers can approach them safely, and our officers will do their best to give the individual orders and to ask them to comply, and let them know that the possibility of force is going to be used. All of those things occurred today, and we're still investigating as to what led up to the shots being fired exactly. And as usual, we'll give a brief after a certain period of time as to this incident. We do think it's important to get out as much information as early and possible to the community to keep them informed of what's going on, especially during these critical incidents.
Do you know what age the person was?
I think somewhere around 25 years old.
Okay. And then can you elaborate on like the 911 calls that came? Was it just residents saying someone's pointing a gun at people? Was it?
Yes, that was my understanding, is just residents calling in that there's an individual in the parking lot who was pointing firearms at individuals in the apartment complex.
Do you have a condition on the suspect?
Suspect is alive in critical condition and was in surgery the last time that update that I got.
Have there been generic police calls here around the area before?
I don't have that exact information. The area commander would know what kind of problems or issues they may have at this apartment complex, but I'm not aware of any right now.
We've also spoken with a lot of the neighbors around here, and obviously a lot of people are shocked and kind of alarmed right now. Well, especially this apartment complex have some additional security throughout the night or anything?
Well, we'll be out here through the rest of the day. We don't believe anybody is outstanding in this case, and there's not an ongoing concern to the community. We do believe that we have the sole individual involved in custody, and that there's no further danger to the apartment complex or its residents.
Last question for me. For people staying vigilant, especially during the holiday season, what can you say about that?
You know, we're coming up on a difficult part of the season. We know that the holiday weekend, especially Thanksgiving in the past, has led to a series of issues within the city. We just ask everybody to remember your alcohol intake during the holiday season. You're around family and friends, and sometimes the alcohol gets the better of individuals. And we just want everybody, to have a peaceful holiday season. We will have additional officers out on the Friday after Thanksgiving in our retail district area to ensure that shoppers are safe. And we are planning to continue this through the holiday season with a series of operations to help ensure that the community is safe as possible.
Do you know if the gun that was recovered on the scene was loaded?
Unknown if it was loaded. It's still being processed by the crime scene. I don't even think it's been recovered yet, so
It's not
I
a
just
BB
know.
gun.
No, it didn't appear to be a BB gun. You just never know, but it didn't appear.
Okay.
Do you know where the suspect was shot on his body?
I don't have that. I think he was somewhere in the abdomen area. It appeared, but I'm not positive.
Thank you.
And just a reminder, the involved officer hasn't been interviewed yet, so we don't have his description.